uncanny ability, divine intervention, if you will, of staying in touch over the years. And it seemed like any time that a period of time had passed in which we hadn't actively conversed, that something would bring us together. And it started early as children. There'd be a family opportunity for that to happen, but even in our adult years, things would just happen. And I'll never forget the time that unknowingly we both attended a conference down in Florida. He was coming from Seattle, I was coming from Salt Lake City. And we ended up not only at the same conference, and not only at the same hotel, but we were across the room from each other. And we were forced to reconnect and spend this time together, which was an incredible and memorable opportunity, wasn't it? I was down at the Y, and at one point, reached out to him and told him I was there. And he said, "Well, where are you staying, Jeff?" And I said, "I'm staying at Raintree Apartments." He said, "Which room number?" And I said, 207, I forget the room number. He said, "Which bedroom are you staying in?" I said, "Well, I'm on the far bedroom on the left, upper bunk." He said, "Well, Jeff, you won't believe this. This is where I lived when I was at BYU as well." And there are a lot of examples of that, but we had a special relationship, obviously. Paul was born in Evanston, Wyoming on August 13th, 1960, to David Elmer Lawrence and Karen Blanche Matthews Lawrence. Karen had a difficult time with pregnancies, multiple miscarriages, and the early loss of an older brother, or a son, Mark, before Paul was born. Paul came into the world in just a too easy fashion, and Karen was so appreciative and joyful at that day of his birth that it just happened the way it was supposed to happen. Paul later became the brother to an older sister, Kathy, and the brother to 4 younger sisters as well. Most of Paul's youth was spent in Big Piney, Wyoming, where his father worked in the oil industry. He loved the outdoors, enjoyed the wonders of each season. He especially loved the big blue skies when the snow started to fall. Now let me give you a quick visual of Big Piney, Wyoming. Most people are surprised to hear that he's from a small cowboy town like that. The time Paul lived there were no stoplights and about 150 residences. There was obviously no Ritz, no Hilton, and no Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, some of the things that Paul learned to enjoy in his later years. Town was settled in 1879, and not by choice. These two cattle ranchers got stuck in this community due to snow in the winter and ended up settling there as they were trying to move cattle to Nevada. The town has the nickname of the ice box of the nation. And for anybody that's been there, I'm sure you know why. It has one of the coldest climates of any town in the lower 48 states. The small branch of Mormons that grew up in that area grew just a few members at a time. And Paul's family played key roles in the leadership of that branch and the early development of the church there. In Big Piney, you were either a cattle rancher or worked in the oil industry. And Paul wasn't a natural fit in Big Piney. Besides a small billiard hall that I remember, there was eventually a movie theater there. And life's simple pleasures of riding the lawn tractor around town were some of the limited opportunities for pleasure and enjoyment there in Big Piney. Big Piney later was the subject of a documentary film in 1987, which highlighted the impact of movie theaters on different cultures. It was, they used Big Piney, North Korea, and India with that setting. So you can see how, kind of where it fits into the grand scheme of our world's geography, right? Well, this close community environment of Big Piney helped Paul to develop his love and his closeness with family, friends, and neighbors. Paul was always willing to help around the house and with his younger sisters, but early on established a real sense of independence. As his younger sisters grew up and needed more room in the house, Paul agreed to move into the travel trailer in his backyard. I was so envious of this little pad, bachelor's pad that he had. And he was so welcoming as he took me and others into his travel trailer for sleepovers. Later, he moved next door to his grandfather's home, and once he had made a castle out of the small bedroom that he worked with there, he had this unique ability to turn something simple into